Hey everyone, welcome back to Crunching Your Growth, the show where we dive deep with entrepreneurs who built, scaled, and evolved their businesses by thinking differently. I'm your host, Phil Masiello, entrepreneur, brand builder, and founder of Crunch Growth, a revenue acceleration agency. We've been helping brands scale profitably for over 20 years. And we don't just teach theory, we write books on it. So when you listen to this show, you're not just getting advice from me and other entrepreneurs, you're getting real world experience. Lessons learned in the trenches, wins, losses that shape the playbook we use to help brands thrive. So if you're serious about scaling, about doing the work it takes to build something that lasts, you're in the right place. So on this week's episode of Crunching Your Growth, we welcome a true branding visionary, Rich Kozak, the voice of impact-driven branding with over 49 years of experience defining and launching brands. Rich brings clarity, purpose, and heart-centered wisdom to the branding process. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, or a creative with a mission, this episode will show you how to align your brand with your divine purpose and amplify the impact you're meant to make. We'll dive into his 7 steps of impact-driven branding, how to extract the gift inside of you and how to move from confusion to clarity so your brand becomes magnetic and deeply influential. So let's bring him in. Let's see what he has to say. Let's hear a bit about his history, how he got to where he is, and hopefully we'll all walk away going, wow, that was a great episode.
Yeah, hopefully. And you're going to hear some things you've never heard. So
I
get a
hope so.
pen.
I hope so.
Get a pen, and you're going to want to write some of these things down.
I hope so.
Phil, I love to hear you talk. I enjoyed when we did our pre-meet. Thank you for that great introduction. It shows your intuition about branding and the process, and sometimes what's missing and where we get to go. I mean, divine purpose. What kind of a branding guy talks about that? Yeah, well, I do, and obviously now you do. So let's. I want to gently pull every one of you who are listening to this along in a mindset that helps you say, I never thought of it that way before, and you know what? That might be where I am right now. There are millions of entrepreneurs, successful professionals, business owners, people that have created things, been doing things for years, getting reputation. They're known for stuff, but they're not done.
Right.
They'll tell you that. They'll say, I'm not done, but I'm not sure where this goes from here, or how do I take it to another level? Sometimes it is about scaling. Sometimes it's about evolving. And I think that's the powerful message for today's episode is, what does it mean, and why in the world would you even feel you want to or feel you need to evolve? What is your brand? How about that?
Well, it's funny you should say that. Because it's funny you should say, I'm not done, or a lot of those pieces, because one of our earliest guests was a guy named Joe Rothley, and he founded Greenies. If you're a pet lover, they're the green. The dogs chew them, and it cleans their teeth, and it cleans their breath. Cats. I mean, it's you see it all over. Any pet store has it, and he developed that in his 50s, back in the 90s, in his 50s, and he did quite well with it. It took off like a hockey stick. There was nothing else like it in the market. There was a definite need, and he blew it out. Him and his wife, they quit their jobs. They lived off their credit cards for a couple of years, and he wound up selling it in the early 2000s or mid 2000s to Mars. So, I'm sure he made a decent amount of money.
Wow.
And so since that time, he's in his 80s now, and he's still building businesses, but he's building businesses not because he needs more money or he wants more recognition. He does it because he has these nonprofits that are building houses for people or taking care of different things. So it generates the money to put into this thing. So he's got a purpose, just like you just said. And where do we go from here? He's still going at 80 years old. He doesn't want to stop, and he's still going because he's got a bigger purpose for running these businesses. So,
Phil, I've got a bunch of clients who fit that. Not the consumer brand thing, but they have had really good lives as teachers or as baseball players or authors or as experts of some kind. And they just say, I'm not done.
Right.
I want to take this to a higher level. Look, I've been a doctor for 40 years and helping people, get rid of stress in their lives. But there's more in there. There's more than that. Look, we're all made by the same God. We all are made with unlimited power, and we've been given gifts, and we all have the same opportunity to make the most significant impacts on the world we touch with the gifts we're given. So that thought, I'm not done, is a
Right.
healthy thought. And if you're 80, great. I just got off I literally just got off Zoom with a client who's in her mid 70s. Her husband said, "Why don't we just play golf?" She's like, "No." She's created a nonprofit to help parents, even the busiest parents, build character in each child in just minutes a day, because she did it for 30 years in the classroom, and parents need to have that at home. It's like, that's amazing. It's a nonprofit called Kids Who Care, buildingkidswhocare.com. Remarkable. She's not done. Yeah. So what does it mean? What does it mean to create something that's not what you're known for, but allows you to touch your highest level impacts that maybe you were made for? That's a cool question.
Yeah, I'll go again. There's guy, another guy that we had on the show, Joel Gandara. Known him for years. He's a great entrepreneur. He was e-commerce innovator early on. Spent about, I don't know, 30 years or so building e-commerce businesses. Did a great job with it. Sold them. I'm sure he made a decent living, or made a decent exit. And he started writing books. His first book was How to Be a Better Man in 30 Days. And it's not just about exercise and all that. It's about, how do you take care of your family? How do you be a better husband? How do you do this and this? So there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that once they're done, everybody thinks, oh, you're going to cash out at some point and then you're just going to get on your boat and lay in the sun. But it just doesn't happen that way. Somebody's got something that they still want to get across to somebody or still want to teach somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And creators, people who are idea people, they see a vision and then they create it. They, they don't just turn it off. It's in there,
Yeah.
you know, and and they don't like to be idle.
No.
So, like, why should we be? That whole idea of retirement kills people. The stats are not good for people that I finally done that job. Now I have to do anything. They're gone in 2 years. It's amazing. So,
Yeah. I don't know if I could, uh, you know, I don't know if I could retire. I don't see the point. Like, what would I
let's not
do?
talk about it. Let's not honor it like it exists. You
Yeah.
retire a horse, it's a
Well, what
different
would I do
story.
with myself? I coach now. I write books. I don't want to stop doing that. I make videos. I do this show. I still have an agency. I like doing all of it. So why should I retire?
Phil, I was doing all nighters when I was 50. You remember the story. And it's like, I changed I had been running a high tech ad agency for almost 20 years, and I was still doing all nighters. And I had partners in 21 countries. I was on global brand teams. I was addicted. I loved it. I had so much fun. And it's 3:16 in the morning, and I knew I had to leave the agency. I'm on the Malibu coast, looking right up the Malibu coast at the palm trees. I had to get down to my car, get in the car, drive all the way across Los Angeles, back to my house, have a shower, shave, put on a new suit, and get to that board meeting by 9 o'clock to say, "Gentlemen, my name is Rich Kozak from Young Company, and we're here to talk about the vision we have for how you can create a new perception of how your customers see you as your brand moves forward strategically." And I'm shaving, and I'm thinking, you know what? You're out of shape. You're skipping sleep. You could become. This is not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
And I changed my prayer, Lord. I'm going to resign this addictive career to reshape myself, to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. So it was an appeal. I'm ready. Show me. Well, I got too busy. I was kind of telling God what I was going to do. I guess that was not too smart, by the way. But at least I let him know. And And what what happened within a very short period of time is individuals asked me to help them, and I said, you know, I don't really do that anymore. They're like, that's not true. You sit down with all of us and we use your language and you create help us with our brand. So I helped a couple of people and I realized that doing that same thing, using steps, using the process
Yeah.
to help people start in their heart, what impacts do they clearly see making and really want to make? We define the brand they must become to make those impacts, and it races them to the impact, races them to the money, raises them to the next level. And all of a sudden, it's not even my work. I mean, I think God put the desire for the impacts in their hearts. So what came to me sitting in a choir loft one Sunday was, holy moly, this is not even my work. This is God's work if we're pulling those impacts out. And so I spend a lot of hours every day, and it doesn't feel like work. Phil, it feels like love. That's remarkable. And
Yeah.
so retired means no meaning at all. It's, I get to do this. I think I was made for it. I mean, I tried to turn it off, and it's a gift. You know the feeling when you can envision people tell you what's in their strategy or what's in their idea, and you say, "Do you want me to show you how that maps out?" Because you're that kind too, and they go, "What?" Right? It's like it's a gift, and to do it to help people step higher and answer that question, where does this go from here? Or what's the highest level impact? And how do I even get credit for that? Because I never did that before. What a blessing. And that's how I spend my time. And I am writing a book that's called Impact Driven Branding: 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts People's Lives and the World. So I'm going to hand it to as many people as want that steps, because they don't know steps. People talk about branding like it's, it's like a lot of double talk. It's like it's creative, you know, guru stuff, and it's not. It's specific things that have to happen. So it's for me. What is a blessing?
Why don't you why don't you give us a little bit of an insight into your past sort of entrepreneurial career, running businesses, and then and then how you came up with your 7 steps.
Well, I don't think it's about me, but yeah, okay. So I was 13 in Pennsylvania. You have to be 18 to get working paper. I said to my dad, I want to make some serious money. I probably said, "Hey, Dad, I want to make some serious," because I was 13, and he goes, "Hey, you can't get working papers in Pennsylvania, so you have to learn a trade. My suggestion is you learn how to paint houses. As a matter of fact, you can paint my house." I'll pay you, and I'll pay you to go down to the paint store and figure it all out. I'll buy all the stuff. You and I have a kid of one of the other professors up at Penn State wants a job too. So you guys can paint the house together as far as and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So within a year, I was hiring friends of mine and contracting paint jobs, and created a company that, said, "Hey, we prepare your house better than the professionals do. So, and we charge a lot less. So like, you should talk to us." Like, and then somebody came and said, "Hey, I heard you sing in the choir. Like, could you sing in our rock band?" Okay, fast forward, by the time I was graduating from high school, I was booking 25 bands. I was playing in one. In Penn State fraternities and sororities, there were a lot of parties. I had this stuff all over my wall. Um, I was doing heavy duty stuff in school. I was doing advanced placement courses, and I played violin. I was in a chamber orchestra and played, first chair. I in the orchestra, and I conducted the school play, directed the school play. It's like I was busy, but I was creating these things. And then somebody called me and said, "Hey, we're creating this Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young band. We've been through Hard Rock Mountains. We've been through Blood, Sweat, and Tears of Chicago. Now, and Soul. So my first band was Filet Soul. That's interesting. By the way, don't go singing karaoke with me." Okay, don't do that. Yeah, I warned you. And by the way, I know you're on the East Coast, but I love to cook, and we live on the side of a hill. The Brand Ranch is in Hacienda Heights, California. If you're ever in the Los Angeles area, you're invited. You'll never leave hungry from the Brand Ranch. I'm just, it'll be nice, organic, yummy looking place. But so, I'm creating these things. Somebody says, "Hey, let's create a band with all the really best guys from the other bands, and let's do some Crosby, Stills, Nash kind of stuff." And so I got in a band, and for 5 years later, I resigned as I left school as a senior with a 3.57, and my dad was a professor, and I left school. Thank God when he was doing his music thing, he wrote charts for dance bands back in the 40s. And when I said, we're going to go in studio and we're going to create an album with this stuff, he had come and heard the band and he knew it was pretty good. And he goes, that sounds exciting. Instead of like, what? You're quitting college? Yeah. So I was kind of blessed because
Yeah.
most families I wouldn't have it. So now I was running a band, and I learned accounting because I had all these businesses. So I was doing the books. I was doing the road. We were on the road. I was hiring the roadies, writing the contract. I was doing a lot of business, but I'm singing the Graham Nash parts and playing the hot violin when the country rock clubs, different. Playing like Orange Blossom. Anyway, that's crazy. Okay. Within 5 years, I was calling on CEOs. I was working for a Fortune 50 company because I went back to school, got a marketing degree, studied international business, did some graduate work, switched to learn about life on somebody else's money. We spent a lot of money and time. The rock band, trying to get a contract, and the band was really, really good. Got a great Billboard review. But anyway, so now I was in a Fortune 50 company touring factories. I'd never been in a factory. My dad was a professor of math and music. He ran the math and music departments in the little college in West Virginia, and then we moved to Penn State. He was a math teacher, and he taught the the challenging. I wouldn't say hated. It wasn't hated. It was the graduate level statistics course that all the graduate
Ah,
students had to take because they were doing their masters, and they were dealing with research, and they had to make sure they knew what validity was. So anyway, my dad was a hoot. And my mom was an English teacher, which is a God blessing, particularly when you're an agency guy or when you're helping people write. So now I'm working for a Fortune 50 company. I'm in factories. I fell in love with factories.
really?
I mean, when you see how stuff is made,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. And engineers who create these three-dimensional drawings, and holy mackerel, we're talking about hot metal and stamping and, fixtures and tooling. That was crazy good. I was like, and I have this insatiable curiosity anyway, so that didn't hurt. But that was amazing. And I'm in field sales, but you have to learn what's going on. So now I'm in industrial field sales. Within 2 years, they flew me from Michigan, which is where I was calling on stamping community and learning all about business and what a purchasing agent is, because you have to know that before you're in marketing. I told
Yeah.
them I wanted to be in marketing, and they're like, sure, yeah. 2 years, I was working for a marketing manager in a factory in the Los Angeles area, and then they put me as a product manager, same place. Then they were going to put me back into field sales. By the time they were ready to put me back in field sales, I was already the president of the American Marketing Association in Southern California, and we were coming into our 50th year. So it's like, nah, I don't think I'm going to go back to Connecticut. Right. So he stayed here. And one of the people that knew me from the AMA ran a business to business agency, and he had bought it from his father, was 40 years old,
Wow.
had legs. And I liked him. He and I were friends, and he goes, come and be my executive vice president. I'm like, advertising is the one part. He goes, you have no idea what you're talking about. It was B2B. So our clients were like, developing the next generation of semiconductors for disk drives, or renting uniforms, or having doctor groups. It was all B2B, and it was fascinating, and I loved it. And I was his exec VP for almost 20 years, and it was that was late at night at that agency at the end of Wilshire Boulevard, looking up the Malibu coast, when I, had to leave by 3:16 to make sure I got home in time. I loved it. We were partners with people all over the world. I would come home late at night, go to bed, and get up early to connect with my European partners or people in Brazil or people in
Yeah.
Australia. Very worldly people. The agency business. It's almost addictive. Well, for me, it was addictive. The high pitch whine of every time you pick up a phone, because I was running new business too. So every time you pick up a phone, it was a different industry, which is a different language, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell, like I was like the hook was in the fish. I love this stuff, but I was overweight. I figured I'd have a heart attack. And look, I've been doing this for 49 years, languaging brands and launching them. I've also been married for 49 years to an angel whom I believe is one of the most important gifts, that I've ever been given. And 54 Valentine's Days, we count them. And I didn't want to leave her and our sons, without me because I was stupid and, shorted myself on sleep and I was addicted to my job. That's just crazy. So I had the wisdom to resign and I prayed about it. And for several months, I let my friend know and we made a date and that was it. So I figured I was over with branding. I got involved in some other areas. I'm my mother's from the South, and she would say, "Richard, you've always been busy." So I wasn't gonna just sit around like we were talking about before. And so I got involved in real estate, investing. It's like doing lease options, buying properties, buying land. I had an uncle who was a home builder, and he had built 350 homes out in
Wow.
Apple here. And so he said, "Look, let's buy some illegal land. We'll create some custom homes. We'll make good money. Boy, you know how to manage budgets. You've been doing it at the agency. Let's do it." So I had that going on. I got fascinated with multi-level marketing companies because of residual income. And so I was in a couple I really liked. And I even when things didn't go well by 2008 and my wife said, "You need to get a real job." I worked for the census, for the United States Census, and I was running Los Angeles County unincorporated. So I had hundreds of people who reported up through people who reported to me. And I my eyes were always open and I'm learning about community. I'm learning back in industry because I'm right here near city of industry. So but now it's also like I'm doing these pockets of unincorporated which are heavily Chinese and heavily Korean and heavily Hispanic. And it was a riot. It was an absolute riot. So people asked me to help them with their individual brands, and when I realized how good it felt to help an individual who had a vision but didn't know how to make it come alive and give it an identity that transfers energy so
Yeah.
that people go, "Oh," and they pay attention instead of, "Oh, that's nice, wah wah." And I saw that happening and realized this does for individuals. I mean, I would sit down with my biggest client was 14 billion at the agency, a major public company. But we were doing, multi-hundred million companies and companies like an ophthalmological test equipment company in Germany that wasn't selling in the United States but wanted to. So our agency inherited being on the global brand team that helped them stay congruent with their culture but shift it to the American market. I was addicted. You can tell. It's like, oh, but now it's individuals. So individuals are a lot easier. You don't have to deal with a decision team. Things can happen more quickly, and they're either ready or they're not. And so these days, what I say we do, and it is exactly what we do at Rich Brands, we're evolving individuals' brands with deep clarity because that is what's missing that keeps them from coming alive and attracting. It's that clarity of whom they focus on and how they say, "This is what I see for you," to a target audience that they really want to impact. When those things are in place, they turn on the magnets. So we evolve brands, individual brands with deep clarity, with energetic longevity, so they can do for more decades what they love, and divine purpose. Praise God, because we can help sharpen a business, but our businesses are not necessarily why we're here. They're vehicles. And the people who say there's more, I know there's more. I know we are defining, not only really defining the businesses they're in as so that the businesses thrive, but we're defining the umbrella brand, the brand that enables them to make their highest level impacts, speak about things that they weren't known for before, but they have a lot of perspective and knowingness and gravitas. It's wonderful work, and it's way different than most people think about branding. They don't even know branding's a process. They think it's, you know, totally a creative thing, and it's a very strategic thing.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I get to deal with individuals who are typically really productive. They're not. They've already been successful, and they want to keep being successful in a different way, and they're thinking about what they leave, what they create as a legacy, as a story, how they contribute. It's a perfect place for them. So, I mean, some of my clients are in their 40s, but some of them in their 70s and 80s.
What's the so what's your 7 steps to branding?
Well, they all have names, and they start with step number one. Because they used to start with cryptic. They start with step number. Okay, so let's talk about the first two, because if you're listening to this and you happen to resonate with anything you've heard, or you think you might sometime in the future, pay attention, because the first 2 steps you get to do with your eyes closed. And it you get in touch with your own heart, and it goes like this. Step one is you close your eyes and ask yourself, when what I really envision doing is totally successful, everything is working. Let's say you write a book, people read it, it changes lives. You're having a weekend retreats, they're full. You're speaking, audiences are standing on their feet, and you know what I mean. You picture what you really want to be doing and what it looks like when it's everything is succeeding, and you ask yourself, what are you doing? And you only picture the things you get joy out of.
So visualizing the outcome.
You love to speak, you love to write, you love to coach one-on-one, or you love to speak to groups, you love to speak to coaches and get them all fired, you love to speak to single moms, you picture it, and you just picture it, and answer the question, what are you doing? And you write down the things I'm going to write a book, I have a signature speech, I'm coaching team, I'm running a mastermind, and the 3-month thing turns into a year, and the types of people. Okay, that's step one. You envision what it looks like when you're thriving and everything is succeeding. Just picture it. Now, step two is ask your heart. Now, I'm going to repeat this. Ask your heart. Okay, so Phil, you and I know what happens when clients ask their head. And you go like, well, who's this good for? And they go, it's good for anybody. Little work for rodeo clowns. Yeah, mailmen. It's like, don't ask your head. Ask your heart. Hey, heart, whom do I clearly see impacting? I mean, I can see it. You close your eyes, you can see the impacts you can make with the work that you do, the calling you have, whatever you want to call business. You might want to impact individuals. You might want to impact an industry. You picture it. Ask your heart, what kind of a person? Sometimes it's a couple. It could be a couple that's about to retire. It could be a couple that's about to get married. It could be a couple with their first child. Look, you know who you are. So ask your heart. Give me one that I clearly can picture impacting and I really want to impact. And your heart will give you one. And you describe it. Spend a little time. Just what makes person that person? And then you ask yourself, what's the first impact that you'll have on them? and you write that down. Look, I couldn't be more clear. The impacts come in levels. So the first things are usually mental. Oh, they reframe how they see something about themselves or the world. Maybe you give them a new mindset. You know NLP, and so you give them a new mindset, a way to think of, or you help them release what holds them back. You know what you do, so you write that. What's the first impact? And you're doing is you're writing that moment of impact. There's a moment. It's like she she prayerfully drops to her knees in gratitude for releasing what's held her back. Okay, you're describing an impact moment.
Right.
Those times.
So,
You do that, and then you ask your heart for another one. You do it for one or two or three. That provides the foundation of clarity because that brand can be defined and language to be the brand you must become to make those impacts on those people.
so what's the third step?
Well, every brand has three aspects, and in the process, we work significantly on two of them. One is called competencies, where you write, what do you do really well? For whom? So it's a who and what do they get in a way that is absolutely clear.
Well, so essentially, you're taking a branding framework and just putting it to individuals and
Well,
throwing a little
this
God
works
into
with
it.
$14 billion
Yeah,
companies and
sure.
it works for individuals. But the difference is you can plug into a multi-billion-dollar company's heart, but maybe not. You can plug into their history. I interviewed everybody at the CEO level about their vision of where it can go. We read about the history. We knew the history of the company. They will share that, but the founders are typically not there anymore. It's now, public company. If the founder's there, you can plug into the heart.
Well, sort of like Ben and Jerry's, right?
But if
You know,
individual, you can plug into the
I mean,
individual.
it's sort of like what Bren and Jerry's strategy was, and how Ben and Jerry's went about it, and how they, created this mission-driven company. And even though they sold to Unilever, they didn't want to lose that, so they set up this board, which is now falling apart because Unilever is sort of putting pressure on Ben and Jerry's to not be as political, and so they're looking at buying the company back. But you know, it's
Things happen. Yeah, things evolve like that. But like, look, so Ben and Jerry, by the way, Ben and Jerry love Penn State because Penn State has what's called the Penn State Creamery, and it teaches people how to make ice cream. Anyway, so Ben and
well,
Jerry's
that's how they got started. They were
go with that.
originally going to make bagels in 1978, but the equipment was too expensive, so they took a $5 Penn State course in ice cream making, and they learned how to make ice cream at Penn State,
Yay.
and that's how they started Ben and Jerry's up in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, I know. We got some real good friends in Burlington, and they're special people up there. Yeah, our Sunday drives used to include the Penn State Creamery.
Yeah, it's so you can. I think branding, the process of branding is the same whether you're branding a person, whether you're branding a business, whether you're branding whatever you're branding, a product. It's sort of the same process.
Well, I can't disagree with you. I absolutely agree with you. The difference is the outcome and how it feels to the individual. Many individuals have been trained by the world to think that branding is something that gets slapped on them from the outside when they realize it gets to come from the inside when they're impact driven. That's a whole different world. When they feel their brand is like the most comfortable pair of shoes they've ever worn, it's a different world. And they realize now they understand branding done right for individuals. If it comes from the heart and it gets them to head toward their highest level impact, that's a different thing than branding driven by market share, branding driven by profit motive branding. I mean, I've done that. I can do that.
Well, I mean, I think that it's branding for businesses and branding for individuals. The process is the same, what they're doing is different. Because if you're an individual and you're a coach, whatever kind of coach you want to be, you're creating a brand of yourself, and you want to stand for something, and you want to stand for helping people, and however you help them, you know, um, we and it's the same process though for businesses. It's just the mechanics of it are different, because a business is transactional. A business is about connecting with a consumer in a way that hopefully enhances their life if they do a good job of branding. And a coach is trying to brand themselves to make an impact on their student's life. So
It's a life changing and perspective changing, kind of like, let's call it reframing for an individual to learn some of the basic tenets that create a brand for them, for an individual that comes alive. For example, in creating a message hierarchy, that their number one message absolutely must overcome the number one barrier that prevents people from letting them in to make their impacts versus somebody else. The process of doing competitor assessment, finding, searching to find out who comes up when you're looking for what you do, and realizing that creating a competitive uh, uh, positioning statement has to be based on competitors. It's competitive comparative. You don't just pull that out of your ass or off, you throw some spaghetti on the wall. It has to be unique, and it has to be purely you, and somebody can't take it away from you. And they watch that process happen, and it gets real for them, and it's really them. It's not like, okay, we got it. You got the Jolly Green Giant. It's not. Nobody calls them that self. Nobody calls themselves that in this. So yeah, that's what you are. It comes from them. The language is about them. It just says it in a unique way that nobody else does. That is, it's remarkably relieving and inspiring. It literally inspires them whenever they read their own brand language, because it is they. It's them. It's my mom, the English teacher. She says it's a predicate nominative. It is they, but people don't say that. Anyway, that's remarkable. And you get a little bit of that if I mean, I remember dealing with somebody who is the founder of a company, and now it's gotten quite large, and they haven't sold it yet. He hasn't exited yet, or she hasn't exited yet. You can still get that, like, wow, we're capturing this. But once it gets corporate, it's different. It shifts.
well, but again, I mean, once it gets corporate, you still have to have a brand, and you still have to. But that's where businesses get into trouble. I mean, when you start out,
Right
you
on.
look at again, you look at Ben and Jerry's, and as an example, or even what do you call it? Oh God, I just had it on
I'll
top.
wait for it. You've got great examples.
I lost it. Uh,
You write books about this stuff. It's like I'm sitting on pins and needles.
yeah, no, I was what do you call it? Chobani, I was going to use as another example, Chobani yogurt, because he was another mission driven, brand. And he started out making Greek yogurt, and he basically invented the category. And he has a whole mission, internally, externally, taking care of his people and all, and how he does it, and staying close to the community. And I'm sure that the man could easily have sold that brand. I mean, he started it, I guess, 30 years ago or so. He could have easily sold that brand now, for a couple of $1 billion, but he won't. He's happy with what he does. He's happy with keeping the people employed. He's happy with. I mean, when you think about
Right.
guys like him and Ben and Jerry's brings in 100,000 gallons of milk or cream from the local farms to their manufacturing facility in Vermont, two manufacturing facilities every single day. I mean, you think about the state of Vermont has less than 1 million people in it. it's one of the biggest dairy
They all
farms.
know each other.
Yeah,
That's
but
what.
it's one of the biggest dairy farming states. So you think about 100,000 gallons. You think about how much that community relies on that, and certainly they could have sold out, and Unilever could have said, "Well, we're going to fold this into Haagen Dazs and Magnum, and we're going to produce in Chicago or wherever it is." But they steadfast. When they cut the deal, they said, "This is how we want it done, and if you don't want it, don't do it." And so they were able to stick true to their roots. And I think the same thing with Chobani and how he does what he does, because he stays in upstate New York. He's got he takes old plants that in old towns that have high unemployment, and he employs people. So he's got a mission driven band, and I'm sure that he looks at himself and says, and just like Ben and Jerry's, this is what we want to do. Our
Yep.
focus is on community. It's not just lining our pockets. A lot of brands, you certainly, as brands become corporatized, it becomes a dollar and cent game. But what you're talking about with individuals is you're keeping it close to the body, close to the person, and that it becomes an extension of what they want to do.
And the examples aren't just coaches. Like there are companies that integrate software for manufacturers or distributors, companies that manufacture uniforms that change the nature of safety in certain jobs across the world. A woman who is setting the new language through trainings for the legal profession of the new language of diversity and equity inclusion for the next generation of corporate leaders in law firms, because of her vision of what that is through God's eyes. It's like there are all kinds of different visions. It's just when somebody has a vision of how high it can go, like Travani. Nobody has to do that, but if he says, "Look, I can inject work into economies. I can help families grow. I can." People see their impacts, and when they see those highest level impacts they can make, they can get satisfied that they're on the right track for them. Just because many individuals think there's more. I mean, Charlie, I think there's more impact he can make, but he doesn't have to go create new companies or sell this one and buy another. I mean, some people are like that. I have a client who was selling people's companies as part of a top 10 consulting firm when he was in his 20s. He said, I made so much money, and money was about, I was doing it to make money. And once I made as much money as I thought I would ever need, I just quit working. And now he's back saying, like, I don't want to not work, and you're like, wow, what's the wake up call? And he's back. He's like, I'm not sure where I take this from here, but he has skills to sell companies at 9 figures. I mean, everybody's different. And we go through, people evolve and brands evolve. And when the person is the brand, or the champion of the brand is still an individual who is the founder, it's remarkable how high their impacts can go. And they won't jump the track. My wife was on a cardiac rehabilitation team as a social worker at St. Jude Hospital here for 7 years. She said the most common thing that people that had open heart surgery said, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't spend more time at the office. It's like, it's not about that. It's about, look, the book I read every morning says we're here for two reasons: share love and praise God. And everything else is man made. If we get those wrong, we got to go back to number one. So, yeah, I mean, what is branding? Hey, look, it can be as much God's work as we want it to be. And when individuals are ready to step into purpose versus just be successful at a vehicle, that's a wonderful time for not only for them, but for the world. And your examples are wonderful examples. You know,
Well, just like the Buddhists say, it's all about the wanting. Man's misery comes from wanting. You want a bigger house, you want a bigger car, you want more of this, more of that, and the more you get, the more miserable you are.
well, oh yeah, it's the feng shui people that say the more stuff you have, the more it sucks your energy away. So it's like there's some wisdom we should pay attention
Well, it's true. I mean, when you think
to.
about it, right? You
Yeah.
have when you have one house, you have to worry about that one house. You have to keep the roof on. You have to make sure that all the systems work. And then if you have two houses, then you double that. And then if you have, one car and then you have two cars and then you have three cars, you have all these problems. I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And so does my wife. I have enough to worry about with one house. I don't want to, if we go on vacation, we'll just rent an Airbnb or something. But it's just not worth having, too much aggravation. And the other thing, we've talked about it a million times.
Sucks our energy
If
away.
we had a beach house, then we'd feel like we have to go there and, to use it. And then that puts more stress on you. And I like to live a stress-free life.
Yeah. So the first timeshare we ever bought, we never visited it. We just bought it to trade it for that
Yeah.
very reason. I'm not that, oh, let's go to our timeshare. It's like, no, that's not really what they're for. But some people think it's what they're for. But that's okay. That's okay. Look, I'm the guy that's had the same wife for 49 years and 54 Valentine's Days. Some things you just got to stick to it.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree 100%. Plus, we don't want to go to the same place every time for vacation. We want to go to Italy, or we want to go to,
Ooh,
China, or we want to go somewhere else. We don't want to go to the same, place. And then if so, you still want to overcomplicate your life, just like you don't want to overcomplicate business. You keep it simple.
I,
But we're
I still have that thought that I had as a teenager. People would say, what do you want to become? I had no idea what I wanted to be, which is ironic because I became a branding consultant that told companies what they had to become to be successful. That was like, come on, believe. So ironic. But when they asked me what I wanted to do, I would say I want to do everything. I want to live outside the country in lots of different places. I want to eat different foods. I want to meet different people. It's like I want to bite off as much as I can chew. It's amazing. I still had that feeling. And now in a way, I get it. Like I sit in this chair and I'm on Zoom a lot, but I have clients all over and I enjoy the world vicariously a lot because of the diversity of the people that I get to meet or that meet me or hear me talk. And then, that's amazing. So, what a blessing.
Yeah. So we got about 2 minutes. So any parting words for entrepreneurs about life, or about business, or about branding?
Well, I'll say two things. Number one is you'll never go wrong in life if you speak from your heart. Those who can't accept it aren't your people. And the second thing is, I have to do this. I'm going to point my broken finger here. Now is the time to define the brand you will become. There's more. And this is Rich Kozak. Um, that's my 2 minutes.
That's your 2 minutes. That's
Yeah.
good advice. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that after they sell their businesses, or after they wind down, they start to think about what they're going to do next, and they want to do something that's impact driven, and they usually start out with some sort of coaching, or giving back somehow to entrepreneurs, or to other people. So it's good advice. Uh, but most of them stay true to their brand, or stay true to their purpose. But that about wraps it up, guys. So it's another high impact episode of Crunching Your Growth. And if you're building a business that's driven by purpose, not just profit, Rich Kozak is the mentor you need to hear. And again, not necessarily just a business that employs people. Your business could be just you. It could be you coaching. It could be you developing something. It could be you as a speaker, you writing books. But you can visit richbrands.org to learn more and connect with Rich to discover the brand you're destined to become. And as always, subscribe to Crunching Your Growth for more powerful conversations. You catch us every week on E360 TV. And we always focus on entrepreneurs who are building impact-driven brands. So until next time, keep building, keep scaling, and keep crunching your growth.